Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Today we're taking a look at the Season 27 Demon Hunter Starter Guide. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for Season 27. I'm going to be making a Demon Hunter early. I might not necessarily be starting one. I might choose Necro. But this is a full guide, bring you up to date in terms of what's going on with Season 27 with the Demon Hunter. Season name is Light's Calling. All about Angelic Crucibles, Sanctified items. But yeah, we'll get into that as we go. Right, what are we going to do? We're going to take you from level 1 to endgame. So this is going to be a guide taking you from creating your brand new seasonal character all the way up until the point in the game where you can go off and do whatever it is that you want. Whether that's playing different classes, whether it's doing different Demon Hunter things, that's obviously up to you. 0 to Hero, Beta Soy Boy to Alpha Giga Chad, however you want to say it. We're going to juice you up right nice for this season. Timestamps will be in the description for any of these sections. I will also link this Google document, which is like a spreadsheet, or Google presentation rather. You can make a copy of it yourself, you can edit it, annotate it, whatever. The master copy will always be in the video description. I have made some Demon Hunter videos so far for the build-up. Again, those will be in the description. And obviously likes brighten my day because it does take quite a bit of time to make these videos. But enough of that waffle, let's get going. What is new? Again, this is another season where it doesn't affect leveling, so for leveling there is nothing new. The season theme does not activate until level 70. But at that point you can find Angelic Crucibles. They drop, and when you use them on an item it will turn that item into a perfect item. It's like a primal. It will also have a special power on it, and these items are called Sanctified items. Each class has 3 powers, and you can only equip 1 per character. Now the Demon Hunter's got a kicker one, which is Strafe fires out the last hatred spender, so that's what a lot of the builds next season are going to be revolving around, this automatic strafe firing. The other 2 don't seem as useful. One is a cluster arrow based one, and the other again I think has something to do with vengeance. Neither of them really look particularly interesting, so you really are down to 1 out of 3. Maybe as the season goes we'll find uses for the other ones, but at the moment it looks like that's going to be the power that you want to get. So 1 in 3 chance every time you use a Sanctified item, or you use a Crucible to make a Sanctified item, you're going to get that power. Now if you can see here just on the left, this like white beam, this is what they look like when they drop. It's a little bit like the Ethereals. They've got the primal glowing little bits around them, but obviously in white. And then this is what a Sanctified Blade of Prophecy on my Crusader looked like. So it's this nice grey, blue, whatever colour that is, portrait. And you can see here this is the actually Sanctified power. So the Demon Hunter one will basically say the one you want is the strafe. So after you firing strafe, you get your last spender is fired out automatically. Now some other new things are the Sanctified items. When you salvage them, they give cool stuff. You can get bounty mats, not many, but you can get some. You can get Death's Breath, you can get Blood Shards, you can also get Greater Rift keys. Obviously we tested this on PTR, you can get this stuff. Whether that's changed for live we'll have to see. It would have been nice if they've upped the salvage rate a little bit, because I think getting 1 Westmarsh water is not really great for giving up a Sanctified item. So hopefully speaking these things are a bit buffed up for when the season starts. But if you do want to salvage one, you're not using it anymore, you may as well salvage it, because you can't take it from onto non-season with you, so at least you'll get some bonus from it. Now Wadijo says the drop rate is approximately 5 times that of a socket gift. So if you play a season and you normally find yourself about 10 socket gifts, you can expect to find about 50 Angelic Crucibles. If you find yourself 100 gifts in the season because you play an awful lot more, well, you can expect about 500 Angelic Crucibles. Another change is the Echoing Nightmares from last season, from season 26, does remain in the game. It's a fantastic way to augment up your builds, but the XP has been significantly nerfed. So the only reason I think to do this now is going to be to get those 125 level augments. We don't need to be doing it to grind XP, which is pretty nice. From the Demon Hunter's point of view, none of the sets have been changed, I don't think, but what we do have is a Guardian set buff This is a craftable set with haedrig. You will have to find the plants from bounties, but what it will do is it will double your main stat of the items equipped when you have 3 pieces of the Guardian set. You're going to need a rogue to run this pretty much, because it's not going to fit into many sets without it. But doubling your main stat is an absolutely huge damage boost, and it really does kick on your early progression, and I think Demon Hunter is probably one of the classes that benefits the most from it. Looking at some important dates, the season start is going to be the 26th of August, so that's 9 days from the time of recording, so pretty soon. Getting quite excited. You don't want to do your challenge rift when this resets on Monday, which is the 22nd of August. If you do your challenge rift, you will be big sad, because it is such a huge boost to get your character to 70 to have that challenge rift bag. Now once the season is live, first steps, we want to either create or rebirth a character. You want to log into the season. I like to have my character touch feet in Sanctuary just to make sure that the server has got me as playing the season. I'll then back out. I'll go and beat the challenge rift. I'll probably watch Rax's guide or Gigi's guide. I'll have practice beforehand. Just don't kill the Rift Guardian if you've only got one account. I've got a couple of accounts, so I'll probably complete it on one for a bit of a practice. But getting the challenge rift done early makes sense. Once you've beaten it, make sure you stick your pet on your character. Put on some cosmetics because you want to look baller. I forget the pet every single season, but just try and remember it if you can. Pickup radius is obviously non-existent at the start of the game. Now the Challenge Rift goodie bag has got some really cool stuff in it. It's got a lot of materials. The main use for those is going to be re-rolling a two-handed level with huge level requirement reduction on it. It will also allow you to craft early weapons, so two-handed bows or crossbow, hand crossbows, whatever it is you want to do. You get enough Death's Breath to do an upgrade in the cube, so you can craft a level 70 item with haedrig. You can then put it in the cube to upgrade it. You get a lot of gold for buying vendor gear, very important given the leveling method that we tend to use now to get characters to 70. And we also get 475 blood shards, which is always fun to spend those. Now early steps, once your character's logged in, you've beat the challenge rift, you're going to take the scoundrel's weapon. Obviously the demon hunter is going to be using the bow. You're going to look for some life per second gear from a vendor, just buy some, it will help you out. I still personally like to do boss bounties, so Magda and Cool, and that will get you some gear. There is another option that has come to light this season, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But your goal really is to get the cube from Act 3 Ruins of Sescheron. Then here in gold, this is the other bit I was talking about. You can snapshot the Eternal Woods on Torment 1. What this means is you go into the Eternal Woods area on Torment 1, you run around and explore the whole area without attacking anything. The game will keep all of those mobs at level 1, even if you level up yourself, and the goal with this is to create a big XP chain through massacre bonusing to get yourself to like level 11 or 12 to get the cube, because you'll then have access to the chakram skill, which would make getting the cube easier. Personally, I don't think it's too bad getting the cube without the chakram, so I'm not sure whether I would bother doing this. But if you really want to be sweaty, if you really want to squeeze those extra few minutes off your leveling process, you basically can do. Once you've got the cube, you can always train up haedrig and the mystic. I would make a witch doctor at this point to get my two-handed bow as well, and the reason you do that for the witch doctor is simply because it knocks out the max discipline roll. Now on the upgrade for a weapon, so using your challenge rift bag, you're always going to take a dagger as a demon hunter. There is a guaranteed multiplier either way. You're either going to get the Carle's point, which gives you a buffing of Impale, or you're going to get a Lord Greenstone's fan, which buffs up Fan of Knives. Now I would rather have the Lord Greenstones. I think it's much easier to level with that. I think the Carle's point is significantly overrated for leveling. I don't think it's particularly great. If you get them a Holy Point Shot Quiver, which we will talk about later, I think it is magic, it's great, but if you don't get that, Lord Greenstones would be my pick. I also think this probably helps you out post 70 a little bit more, because the Fan of Knives, as I say, does hit pretty hard. For your blood shard spending, there are a few options if you want to spend them straight away if you can't hold. Braces, Wraps of Clarity, 50% damage reduction. If you spend all of your blood shards on that, that's a like 87% chance, give or take. Very handy for Fan of Knives, because Fan of Knives you have to be quite close to the enemies, so 50% damage reduction is nice for that. but I probably would be saving it for quivers. Now, I've put in there at 30, you can have a pretty good chance of getting the rapid fire ones, Sin Seekers. I probably wouldn't go for it. 62% chance is nice, but I probably would be going for the level 31 quiver, which is the holy point shot, and you've got about just under 40% chance of nailing this, because obviously there are other quivers in the pool. It's not just the holy point shot you're rolling for, but it would be handy because you've got a 50-50 chance of already having the Carle's point with you as well, in the cube, so that could be quite handy. But it's going to be very useful for later on because you're going to look to build out a shadow DH pretty quickly, but again, it's up to you. There are other things at level 1, so if you roll for braces, if you decide you want the damage reduction, which can be handy for the fan of knives, can be handy for leveling in general, you can then spend any remaining shards trying to get Leoric's crown for up to double XP with a red gem in the helm. You can get Pox Folds, which do help with massacre bonusing, but personally I'll probably go the quiver at 31 if I was making a demon hunter, but a bit of a judgment call really. Now for the two-handed bow reroll, I think this is probably the most important step every season because you can get up to like 30 level reduction. So you need to craft a two-handed bow or a crossbow. It has to be on a witch doctor. I've put this in red. I did mention this earlier because if you make this on the demon hunter, near enough every bow you craft on demon hunter rolls automatically with max discipline, and that makes it really hard to get a secondary with crowd control on it. So when you're making it on the witch doctor, there's no max discipline. It's much easier. Look for the CC on the secondary. Perfect weapon that you will make has ideal life per hit on it as well. That again knocks out another option in the pool when you're re-rolling what is not the crowd control. So you basically leave the crowd control, re-roll the other secondary, but just make sure you don't run out of resources. You also need to be a little careful making these. I wouldn't really make more than 3 early on because again you will run out of mats, and that is always the challenge. A few examples here. Bow on the left is shit, it's no good because as you can see it's got life after kill and monster grant XP, so when we went to reroll one of those secondaries it would have absolutely a huge load of different crowd controls, chill, stun, slow, all those types of things. There's loads of them, which is dead annoying. Middle one is pretty good. That's got a slow on the secondary, and I've re-rolled that for 23 level reduction. I say personally anything over about 20 is good, but I mean if you hit 23 early with your first roll, take a few more rolls, try and get it closer to 30 if you can. But again, you don't want to spend all your mats because you will be crafting some weapons as you go through leveling. The one on the right is absolutely perfect because that has landed with life per hit and the CC on the secondary, so it's very easy to roll the level reduction on it. Personally, I'd say an absolutely perfect weapon would have dexterity and vitality rather than area damage and cooldown, because those two stats will help you progress up to Torment 6 faster. It'll keep you alive longer, but beggars can't be choosers. You only really get a few goes at this, so you just kind of have to take what you're given. Now, as for leveling at areas, we've talked earlier about the snapshotting for the Eternal Woods. The Eternal Woods, I probably should have said that zone is when you go to the Ruins of Sescheron, you just button hook back round to the right, and that is where the Eternal Woods are. Halls of Agony is another good area to start off with. Again, pretty easy monsters, pretty slow, so early levels there can be quite good. Fields of Misery, this used to be where we always leveled for years and years and years. We used to run around the outside of the Fields of Misery, chaining up massacre bonuses for the bonus XP. Probably don't do that so much anymore because we've got this area that has been added to the game. And we've basically worked out that this is the best way to level. It's the Temple of the Firstborn in Act 2. So gold standard for leveling, I think, is there. Ruins of Sescheron in Act 3, again, whenever you make a new game, you can always have a little look for this. There is a cursed chest. I think it can go on either of the 2 levels in the Ruins of Sescheron. It's pretty nice. You can get a pretty big kill chain up there. So if you get bored doing Temples of the Firstborn, by all means, have a little pop over to the Ruins of Sescheron, break it up a little bit, go and do a bit of that. Or you can always go and do a Rift. Definitely less boring, but also definitely slower. Slight advantage of rifting is you will end up with slightly better gear because you've got better chances of legendary items, but ultimately making a new character is just about getting to 70 as fast as you can, because the loot pool at 70 is about 10-20 times better than it is pre-70, so you can do some rifts, nothing wrong with it. Again, just have fun. Some leveling tips: I would say do the highest difficulty that is comfortable for you. Don't worry about having to do T1, T2, T6, T4, whatever it is. Just make sure you're not getting frustrated by dying. Red gem in the helm for XP, obviously that's pretty basic. Red gem in the weapon for deeps, so some extra damage. Again, pretty basic, but always worth putting down. If you are crafting items, so let's say you're making bows at level 8 and 12, 16, whatever they are. Again, if you want to transmog them, and that way you can't auto salvage them, albeit that does not work on the Nintendo Switch apparently. You want to keep an eye out for vendors, specifically rings and amulets with plus damage. Early on, that is a pretty big boost. And yeah, the curse chest tips: I always explore the full zone. Resplendent chests spawn quite frequently in the Temple of the Firstborn. Again, that'll help you with gearing. You can get some really nice yellow items in there. You can either use them, break them down for mats, which are handy. You might find some legendary items. And then in general, range skills for the DH make this quite easy. It's one of the easier classes to mask a bonus. AoE skills obviously make it easier, which is one of the reasons why Chakram is so good, because it's got dual Chakram, I think is the first rune. It's got quite good AoE. You can blast one, it might hit several enemies and keep your chain going, which is nice. Now each time you do the run, so you'll look for the cursed chest, have a bit of explore the area. Once you've done the cursed chest, make a new game. Whenever you do make a new game, I recommend going to a vendor, checking for stuff that you can buy, because you can get some pretty decent upgrades and gold. We've got absolutely loads of that with our challenge rift bag, so rather than worry about crafting too much, rather than worrying about RNG for stuff we find, for things that we find, we can just buy it with gold, which is nice. Boss bounties can always be done if you need a gear boost. You shouldn't really need to do this, but again, if you're feeling a bit bored, if you've got maybe some really sucky gear, you can go off and kill Magda again or Zoltan Cool and try and get some extra items that way. For the skills whilst leveling, this depends what you get out your challenge rift bag. Obviously, if you get the Impale dagger, you're going to probably put Impale on. Certainly if you get the quiver that goes with it. If you're running Fan of Knives, well, you don't unlock that till fairly late. It's on a 10-second cooldown, which is a bit annoying. And the way that the Lord Greenstone fan works is each second it charges up, it does more damage, up to a max of about 30 seconds. But as I put at the bottom there, one of the runes removes the cooldown, but it then turns it into a hatred spender. You want to put that rune on as soon as you get it, because it just helps out tremendously. Chakram is probably the Demon Hunter's best skill for leveling. Great AoE. As I say, the first rune you get is pretty good. And other than that, you're looking for dodge chance, mobility, maybe some toughness, just a bit of speed. And again, it depends what you pick up. If you get the Sin Seekers, maybe you want to have a little try of rapid fire just to see if that is something that'll help you out. Now, when you get to 70, and I know we can watch these godly players like Rax Mudijo level a Demon Hunter in about an hour and 20 minutes. I think most regular players are probably going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours. Again, it'll depend heavily on the RNG of what you get dropped. But once you do get to 70, we can do the season journey, and we're going to get the Unhallowed Essence, which is the multi-shot set. This does T16 fairly fast once set up, which is pretty good. So if we look at the bonuses, the 2-piece generators get extra resources, so that is both extra hatred and discipline. It's kind of crap, to be honest, but it's 2 legendary items and it does carry a little bit of a bonus. The 4-piece, you get 60% damage reduction as well as 60% increased damage if no enemy is within 10 yards, and this bonus lasts 8 seconds. Again, as 4 pieces go in the game, it's probably quite crap. 60% damage probably won't jump you very far, and 60% damage reduction. Early on, you just want damage, that's all you want, so not great. The 6-piece multi-shot and your generators and vengeance, not that you'll ever use it, do 350% extra damage for every point of discipline you have. Now bear in mind, that is discipline you have, not max discipline, but the more discipline you have, the more damage you do. So max discipline, look out for it on quivers, bows, chests, rings, that kind of stuff. It will give you a bit more damage. Now initially at 70, before you've done your season journey, I like to craft a Sage's set. Haedrig knows the plans for these. It's a stat boost and it gives you double Death's Breath. Once you've used it, once you've got items to replace it, if you're solo, you can pass it to your follower. If you're in a group, you can stick it in the stash and you can use it on your follower whenever you do get your solo stuff going. If you complete the season journey ASAP, but do bear in mind that you can convert set items into cube, so if you find yourself a couple of UE pieces, you might only have to do the first 2 legs of the journey, and then you can use the convert to get up your 6-piece. I always say make a level 1 character again once you've got to 70, just so that you can spend some shards on some easy things to get in the loot pool at level 1, Wraps of Clarity probably being the most important thing. Now as for upgrades, so this is spending your DBs, obviously multi-shot is the set that UE is known for. This is what the modifiers we're trying to get. So the main 2 are the Yang's recurve, which is a bow, and then the Dead Man's Legacy, which is a quiver. So you go for the Yang's first, and then if you haven't got the Dead Man's Legacy, you'll then probably upgrade for that. I've put them in gold. You only need 2 pieces for UE multi-shot Demon Hunter, 6-piece bonus, and these 2 items in gold, and you will probably be able to do, I'd say, T14, T15 pretty comfortably, and then as we showed in the video from the other day, T16 is very near as well, and can actually be done. Now we do have some other modifiers that we can get, so obviously any generator can be buffed up, so you might find yourself the bowler's bow, the bowler's quiver, same for Hungering Arrow. You might find the Hungering Arrow satchel whilst you're going for your Dead Man's if you're using DB. So anything will work with UE to start off with that buffs a generator, so keep your eye out for those items. Once you're boxed off with your 2 main multipliers, I then would move on to rings and amulets. Stuff like Convention of Elements, Stone of Jordan will just add more damage. Focus and Restraint is probably my ideal pick for UE. Demon Hunter, they're the 2 that I would want, but you obviously need both of them, so it will take a bit of time. Squirt's Necklace is obviously very handy, but generally early on just any amulet with double crit, any rings that add a bit of damage would be nice. And then once I've got myself with some rings I'm happy with, an amulet I'm happy with, I'm then going to move on to one-handed crossbows. And probably I'm looking for the Dawn for the huge Vengeance cooldown reduction, but I might also hit a Fortress Ballista, which is a shield. We normally use that with the Gears of Dreadlands, but again, you can use it early on with multi-shot. As for your blood shards spending at 70, you're probably going to pump everything into quivers early on, because obviously you're looking for the Dead Man's quiver. This is the one that buffs up the multi-shot, but you can be reasonably happy if you hit yourself a Series Satchel, because I would recommend building out Gears of Dreadlands, probably as my first build. And then again, a level 70 Holy Point shot will buff up Impale, which as we said is probably going to be the best build for the Demon Hunter. After I've got some satchels I'm happy with, I'm then probably moving over to roll shards for rings. So again, looking for that Convention of Elements for damage, Stone of Jordan, Focus Restraint. Keep your eye out for a puzzle ring, because obviously we can get the Boon of the Hoarder with that as well. I'm also probably going to keep an eye out for blood shards once we've got the multi-shot built and we're at T16. I'm then probably going to be looking for Gears of Dreadlands pieces and Shadow pieces. Now Gears of Dreadlands, for both of these and Shadow, shoulders is the easiest, pants is pretty close as well, gloves are actually fairly decent as well on Demon Hunter, and then you can get 6 pieces of God, 6 pieces of Shadow, and again use that convert recipe in the cube to make up 6 pieces. Now, multi-shot will do T16, multi-shot with the season theme, with the automatic firing out of stuff, probably will be one of the fastest T16 builds in the game, but you are going to have to get that right power for the season theme, so no Sanctified items, none of that. I think the Demon Hunter's best build for T16 is the Gears of Dreadlands, so that's probably where you're going to end up going, but again, it depends on your RNG. If you get the Angelic Crucibles, you get the powers you need. You might not need to do GOD at all this season. You'll just have to play that by ear. I've highlighted the Shadow pieces in gold simply because this is going to be the best solo XP build for casuals. It does require the Sanctified item. Again, it's the one that Strafe will fire out the Impales for you. It's unbelievably strong. On the PTR, I was doing 115s, 120s, in about 3 minutes with like 900 Paragon and decent gear. It's a very strong build. We are obviously going to have a shopping list as well at this point, so these are just some general things that we're looking to build out, either multi-shot, maybe Impale, maybe Gears of Dreadlands, but it's stuff like the Crimson set that's going to be kind of handy at some point. But really the kick is going to be this new Guardian set, because doubling your main stat early on is going to be a huge power boost. So if you can get the belts, the braces crafted, you'll have to find the plans with bounties. Again, another reason to set up Gears of Dreadlands, because it's a great bounty build. But once you've got that, you can slap it on your DH with a Ring of Royal Grandeur, which again you'll have to get from bounties. Legendary gems, you're going to look to build up your powerful, your Zays, your trapped. They're the three for the Shadow Impale, and they work okay with UE multi-shot and Gears of Dreadlands, although Gears of Dreadlands you probably want the simplicity strength, so I'd focus on the trapped, the Zays and the powerful. I think they're the three that I'll be looking to get up as high as possible. Obviously you're looking for a gold wrap to help out with your T16 key farming, GOD pieces for bounties and T16 build. Maybe you stick with UE, we'll just have to sort of see how that goes. And certainly you're looking to keep your eye out for Impale pieces, because that is the build we want to get up and running ASAP. Now in terms of Sanctified items, obviously you will find some Angelic Crucibles. Fingers crossed they drop early. Weapon is going to be a good early choice for a Sanctified item for the first one you find. Weapons obviously have the highest damage, they've generally got quite big stats, and I've put modifiers in gold because a lot of the time an Impale dagger will have a modifier, a Yang's recurve will have a modifier. If you can get that maxed, it does make a big difference for damage. The other option is to consider an item that's got quite high utility. So let's say you've got yourself a convention of elements and you happen to get yourself dropped one of these Sanctified items. Well, you know a COE can be used in a lot of builds. Again, maybe you've got to the point where you've crafted Guardian's belt or braces, you might want to use it on those, because again it's probably going to go with quite a few builds for you. Or something like a Squirt, which, you know, Squirts will go with God, it'll go with your Impale, it'll go pretty much with anything. So I'd recommend using it ASAP, just slap it on the best thing that you've got, because you never know, you might get the strafe power. It's going to be a big difference for both UE and for Impale, and it's at the end of the day going to give you a perfect item. So yeah, I'd recommend just spending them as soon as you get them to start off with. And that's about it really. We're going to build out Shadow Impale. I'm going to do a video guide in the first couple of days, hopefully once the season is live. But in the meantime, the videos that we've got, I did a T16 refresher on Gears of Dreadlands last season. I think that video is still valid, so I'll link that one. The UE T16 starter build guide, that's where we go through the UE with the absolute bare bones of it to show you that it does do T16 pretty much out the box with just the pieces. And I've also done a full run through of exactly what order to do everything for spending your materials on the UE, so kind of like a how to gear build your multi-shot tutorial. So hopefully speaking, with those videos you should be covered and good to go with the Demon Hunter. I'm really excited for this season. I'm looking forward to absolutely crushing some XP with the Shadow Impale to start off with. Yeah, and let's hope we get some nice primals, let's hope we get some nice Sanctified items. I've been the Filthy Casual, I hope you enjoyed the video, take it easy, peace.